Hello and welcome everyone. It is 1 o'clock Central, so we will get started. Thank you for tuning into today's webinar, Teen Interpersonal Skills for Life, Engaging Lessons for the Classroom. My name is Emily and I will be your moderator today. Denise had an emergency come up and was not able to make today's presentation, but we have RealityWorks Education Programs Manager, Jamie McIntosh, presenting on Denise's behalf today. Jamie has been with us for over 10 years and came to us with an extensive education background as a former educator teaching high school in Wisconsin and in Colorado. His topics cover student engagement, technology in the classroom, gaming, filling the skills gap, and business education. He is a great resource for today's presentation, but before we get started, I do want to cover a couple things. First, today's presentation is being recorded and all attendees will receive a link to that recording, as well as the PowerPoint slides and handouts that Jamie will be going over. You will also receive a certificate of completion for attending today's presentation. You should see that in your email within 24 hours after the webinar. We will have time at the end for a Q&A session, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those in the chat area or Q&A section located at the bottom of your screen, and we will cover those at the end. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Jamie to get us going.
Hey, thanks, Emily. Really appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, to Teen Interpersonal Skills for Life. One of the things that I just want to say is thank you for taking the time today as we go through this presentation. During our time together, we will be sharing some engaging lessons from a family consumer science instructor, Melissa Priester. She's a longtime RealCare baby teacher and also a RealityWorks customer who has used her program to teach these topics. So what you're going to hear today is a lot of real life experiences and new opportunities for you to bring into your own classroom from a tried and true user of these different engaging resources and activities. Also, we'll be sharing some additional free resources at the end of this webinar for you to use and to bring into your own classroom as well. So I want to start with having you look at this interesting quote. And really, it is something that, as it says, what does it help teens feel comfortable and connected to their schools? So this quote, it doesn't matter whether you have 20 or 30 kids in a classroom. It doesn't matter whether the teacher has a graduate degree. What matters is the environment that a student enters when he walks through the classroom door. This was taken, a quote about 20 years ago. And the question I want you to be thinking about is what impact has the recent remote learning, the trends that have changed how we see learning, had on our students' connection to school and to friends in this day and age. So take a moment and think about that. Now, with that being said, another quote that I'd like you to look at here is, although U.S. school districts that chose a remote learning model had more time to prepare for online school this fall than in the spring, psychologists who specialize in education research are concerned about how students are coping, how they are kind of seeing this world as a loss of friends, teachers, routine. So research shows that the school environment is critical for fostering academic motivation and social development. That's why what we're talking about today is so important. So this is something where it can be a big challenge with learning and practicing interpersonal skills. And we're seeing that more than ever, the importance of it more than ever in today. So I think this is a very timely topic and something that I'm excited to continue to give different resources for you. So as we go through here, we recently interviewed one of our longtime RealityWorks customers, Melissa Priester, who willingly shared her tried and true ideas and activities to teach interpersonal skills. So some of the ideas are going to be shared today with you and what we're going to discuss about. So on day one of the things we'll talk about is discussing why the class, interpersonal skills class was created. Students need to understand that what these skills are and why they're important. So understanding the why is really the first thing right away on day one that you're going to want to talk about with your students and get them to start thinking about how important interpersonal skills really are. As a class, it's also going to be important for you to discuss privacy. What does that mean? Why do you need it in a class like this? How important is it? What can it do to your ability to relate to each other and communicate and interact with each other if you have that understanding of privacy, of having a safe space for dialogue? And then the last things to kick off this type of a class is to have a thought journal activity. So one of the ways that you can do this is have students to journal and think about, okay, what are some ways that an interpersonal skills class could be good for me? How could this help me? Maybe play a song or a few songs that are meaningful and listening to those songs and have them write in their thought journal about what is important in their own worlds that in a class like this, they want to be able to communicate and interact with. So on day 2, then, Melissa would then, after kind of going through some of those questions, she would go into really this kind of deep thought process of who am I? All right. So one of the first journals that she would ever assign to students would be to then collected and read by her. But one of the things in the last slide you saw is that these thoughts, these personal opinions of students, one of the things that you have to be aware of is that you have to make sure you have guidelines for your students. One of those big guidelines is that you as a teacher are what is known as a mandatory reporter. If there is something in the letter that, or in these writings that there's concern, could be harmful to a student, is against the law, things like that, you as the teacher have the need to be a mandatory reporter. So to talk to your students about that, so there's no surprises if something like that happens, but also tell them at the same time, the whole purpose of this is for them to reflect and to give their own personal view on things. If it's not something that is going to be harmful to others or themselves, then, open it up, let them talk and let them have it. But also going back to that privacy, allowing that student to know that, hey, this is between you and them and nobody else, and keeping that very strong kind of security in that as well. So one of the ways that you can work with students is by having them write a letter describing the different life events or things that they have had in their life, and making sure that through that they give some details, understanding what's going on. Reason being is you then can start to get to know them. They will also start to get to know themselves a little bit better. So once you've done this, we have an activity that we like you and can be very helpful for you to use. So this is our flower pot or our paper plate, or I'm sorry, or our plastic plate activity here. So this activity is a good one to use for a family relations unit. During this unit, make sure you discuss the different family structures and parenting styles that are out there. We'll talk with your students about the challenges that families face. It's important that you work and you start to get them thinking about what is all involved with their family units. So this may take a little time for them, but it allows them to start getting an idea of the family unit and that interpersonal relationship they have with the people who they see the most and most often. So here's how you would set it up. On day 1, the instructions would be to give every student either a clay pot or a plate, something big that they can write on it, right on the surface of it. All right. Have them use a permanent marker so then they can write, they can draw on it, and that it makes their family strong. Positive words that describe their family. All right. Have them, what are those things that are important to them about their family? Now, some students may be easier, some may have a harder time, but it gives them that voice, that opportunity to do that. All right. On day 2, then, place the flower pot or the plate in a paper bag or a plastic shopping bag. Something that's going to hold all the pieces in a place so they don't go all over the room. Have students stand up, and when you say okay, have them drop to the floor to a hard surface, have them use a hammer, have them step on it, something that will break that plate. Then have the students take them out of the bag on a tray or on their table or desk, and maybe have it where there's butcher paper or there's some plastic garbage bag covering so they can put it all in one spot. And then have them try and mend the object back together using tape and other items available. Have them try to put it all back together. Once you've done this, all right, bring them in for a 3rd day, or maybe it's homework if that's needed. Once you have done this, okay, it can be have them kind of start thinking about their family again, which again, day 1, they put all the different things about their family, wrote it all down, then they broke all those things. So this is where some key questions will come in when you look at families and what can happen in crisis. So once they have their plate kind of put back together, how do they feel about breaking that plate? How do you feel you felt that way? Positive, negative? What were your feelings in that? Describe how the broken pieces of the dinner plate are like the problems families encounter. This is a place where students can start to correlate and bring reflection into it and kind of look at, okay, look at these different pieces of the puzzle. Why do I think that or this or the other? All right. Then talk about how using tape to mend our plates. Why were some plates not able to be mended? How is this similar to families in crisis? What are some types of crises that may happen that families aren't able to mend or come back together? And then what conclusions can you draw from this experience in regards to families? All right. Maybe you can mend and have it look pretty similar to what it was before. Maybe some of them can't. What is that like in the real world? Again, this allows for a great reflection piece for your students, giving them opportunities to think through their own feelings, their own life situations, but also putting themselves in other people's situations at the same time. A great learning activity for your students. Another one is gratitude letters. Another type of activity that could help here is an activity like this can be used with many different types of units. Leading up to an activity, it's recommended to have a discussion about people who have positively impacted our lives. Have students reflect on individual names, make lists maybe, and how they impacted their lives. Also reflect on who are or whom they might also be positively impacting themselves. But the whole point of a gratitude letter is to really start looking at who has made powerful or impactful, positive interactions with them as a student. So what you can do here, one way to do this and one way that our instructor has done it is to have an assessment requirement. It needs to be handwritten, have an addressed envelope for it. You may have to provide that, and then set a firm deadline, making sure that they will turn it in at a certain time. Don't let them have a long extended period of time to think about all those things, but give them a deadline. So it's okay, this is what I'm going to work on, and this is what I'm going to, how I'm going to write it. Now, in this case, it'd be 20 points per letter and 5 points per addressed envelope. So it's not just writing letter, because there's another piece to the puzzle, and that's actually sending the letter, getting that positive letter to whoever's helped them in their life. So in this case, the reason it's 75 points is 25 points per letter that you write, and then it's 5 points for actually having it addressed, so you would send it off to someone. So again, giving students ahead of time this knowledge that, yep, You're writing this letter to thank, to show gratitude towards people who have helped you in your life, but then also sending it to them. It's not just thinking it, it's also taking the action step of doing it. So giving some examples here, letter one might be a friend or a classmate who has made a positive influence on you. Letter two could be a teacher, a coach, a boss, authority figure who has influenced you, and then a family member who a positive influence. So breaking it up, not just being to the same person, but having them have to pick somebody else, look at different areas of their life to be able to see, okay, who am I grateful for in my world? Another opportunity for you. All right. Now, we have a few more ideas for you just to get you kind of brainstorming. And these are brainstorming activities to get students thinking freely about different types of topics, getting them to start thinking about how they interact with different people, how not only do they, but other people interact with each other, and kind of look at of each other. So the first one here is a family challenges brainstorm. All right. And this is one, these are, again, examples of ones that have worked in the classroom and students have really taken hold of and really enjoyed this exchange here. So give all students, 5 to 77 sticky notes, all the same color. On the board are topics that cause stress in families. They can be good things, they can be bad things. And have students to write down on their sticky notes the titles of the stressors their family have and are facing. Don't have them put names on it, all right? Just where or what they stress in their world, okay? Ask them to write down the titles of the stressors that their family has. So if, and you can kind of see the pictures there, if college is one, then they would write a sticky note with the word college on it. If it's, maybe it's boyfriends or girlfriends, write that down, other things, all right? Have them brainstorm different things that has caused them problems or challenges in their world. The next day, then put them up on the board. So then they can have the students reflect in their journals about what they see. Many have no idea that, again, they're not the only ones. They're not the only student who has these problems. And that is a big change for people to see, hey, look at, there's other people just like me who have different challenges in life and maybe the same challenges. I'm not alone. There's other people I can talk to. There's other people who may understand or have gone through this before. It brings community into your classroom. Now, another opportunity, the same kind of brainstorming activity is Melissa shared some of her ideas where this idea of a friendship terminology. Bring the topic on friendship. Ask students to give their definitions of, the following terms. What a good friend is, a great friend, a toxic friend, a bully, all right? Have them start writing down what their definitions of that is. Letting them learn from each other of, well, I would say this is a good friend. I would say this is a great friend. Let them start to think about that. Let them then, with the interpersonal skills, it really starts to go back to themselves and reflect and say, ooh, when they say toxic friend, do I have some of those characteristics? Do I need to be careful or change how I interact? So share some of these things and to allow students to, again, use reflection and understanding of how they're seen by others, how they're seen by themselves, how they then can change some of their world. So next thing, we have a few more free resources for teaching interpersonal skills. So let's take a look at some of these other resources that we have available to help with your classroom and teaching interpersonal skills. So we've made all of our curricula and product guides available as a resource here at RealityWorks. So this webpage, and again, all of this is available to you, and we'll be sending this PowerPoint slide to you so you can look and get these links. But the screenshot on the right shows where you can access our family consumer science resources, and the link is there for you as well. And as you see, you scroll down, and if you get to the RealCare program curriculum, we're going to discuss the next slide. If you click on that RealCare button there, you will then see and have the ability to use 4 different curricula that is part of our RealCare program. So with our RealCare program, you're going to have access to our Healthy Choices curricula, our Life Skills and Healthy Choices for middle school students, our Basic Infant Care, and our parenting curriculum. All of this, if you're looking for specific lessons and activities to teach, we have 2 that specifically focus on. In our Healthy Choices, which is a high school curriculum, it focuses on things like relationships, communication, sexuality. In our middle school curriculum, specifically for middle school, we have kind of more of a instructors for use at that age. It has things like life skills, healthy choices for a middle school focus. Those are different options for you to go in and then use some of those lessons. Most of our lessons are designed around a 45-minute class period. So if you are in a block schedule, have longer time, think of about a 45-minute time that you would be using this for. There's 3 sections to every lesson that we have. We have a focus section, which is really to capture the student's attention. We have a learn section, which is the presentation mode. And we have a summarize, where it's going to get all the key points kind of brought back to you, and then an assessment piece to help you make sure that your students understand what they're learning. So what does that look like sometimes? Well, a lot of times you will see a pre or a post assessment as well, for you to be able to kind of learn where did they start in their understanding to, after learning and going through this program, how did they finish up? There are also lessons that are included in our Healthy Choices curriculum. The first 5 lessons of this Healthy Choice curriculum really focus on interpersonal skills. This includes plans and value influences around us, communication and self-esteem, communication and relationships, and just focusing on relationships as a whole. Each of these lessons is full of activities, slide presentations, role-playing, discussions, and more. So please check out these different opportunities for you to have some free resources to help with your interpersonal relationship classes that you are teaching. Here's a sample activity found in the lessons on communication and relationships. So students will apply communication skills learned in various scenarios, situations, and also there's an interview with a parent or guardian. So we're bringing others into this communication and relationships world as they learn about it. We know that peer pressure plays an enormous role in how young people think and act. And the activities in this lesson will give students the skills they need to respond to sexual pressure situations. So this example here gives students an understanding and an opportunity to practice skills and able to use these skills in the real world. So the I don't think so activity gives students a safe place to practice important refusal skills in a lot of different types of situations. So what does this look like? Well, there's role-playing opportunities here where the scenarios from the lessons, and then what do you do? So here's an example. A friend has been drinking and wants to drive to get some food. He wants you to go with him. All right. You're at your friend's house and his parents are away on vacation. Older brother just graduated from high school, comes home with some friends and goes to the fridge and starts drinking beer. He offers one to your friend and to you. Your friend takes the beer and starts to drink it. You don't want to. It gets you into a role, and you have to start looking and figuring out, how would you play that scenario out? How would your students interact to get themselves out of that situation, or what they would do? Allowing them again to reflect, to interact on, in a real world situation, what would my answer be? How would I do this in the real world? Now, another opportunity for you and another lesson here is we have the Healthy Choices program for middle school. And so this lesson gets participants to understand the powerful effect that media has on the minds and sexual decision making. And so in this case here, part of the lesson includes a ready-to-use slide presentation, and it shows participants really understanding or looking at different ads that are targeting their generation and targeting teens based on products, but then what are the other messages that are also coming in? So in this case, you would divide your participants into small groups and complete the media influence worksheet. Now, here is some of kind of what it looks like. All right, so a sample page here is, does the media affect sexual decision-making excerpt? And it gives you some questions. It gives you visuals to say, okay, what's going on here? Does this do anything? What is the media trying to portray here? Another sample page here, all right? Does it affect the way we behave sexually? And when you see some of these visuals, how is it trying to get you to do something, or in some cases not get you to do things? What are you going to do? And getting students to discuss and interact with what are some other pressures out there that are pressuring you or wanting you to do one thing or another. So teaching interpersonal skills is very important for teens to have successfully navigated the relationships that they are in and will continue to be in as they go through middle school, high school, college, and beyond. So it's also an important part of being successful in a job situation. There's some resources that we have as well for workforce success. And so we're going to show you some of those opportunities. One of them being our Employability Skills program. We have 2 standalone programs that teach a whole program on interpersonal skills as they relate to employability. So our Employability Skills program has 19 lessons, each focusing on a different employability skill, such as interpersonal skills, communication, teamwork, and everyone has a scenario card in that program and you can look and have students interact and work through each of those scenarios, using the key questions to generate class-wide discussions or partner discussions or group discussions. And for more information, we have this both as an online course or print course, and you can go to our website to view that. We also have our Leadership Soft Skills program. It has 18 lessons, and they focus on different employability skills like team building, diplomacy, tact, people skills, and the list just keeps going on. But here's one of the scenario cards in that program that can help you to work through, again, another scenario with questions and having students role play and interact with each other when it comes to how do you interact with people in these different areas. We also have, if you click on this link, 2 free online lessons. All you do is click on the link and it will unlock your free trial that will allow you to be able to view our Employability Skills program lesson, which is an interviewing one, and our Leadership Soft Skills program lesson, decision-making and goal setting. So these are freebies for you. They're free trials, so you can try them and see if this is something that could help your program as well. Now, with all that said, those are online. We also have curriculum-free lessons from both the programs, so you can click on those and then download those lessons. Employability has lessons on problem solving and time management. Leadership is on coaching and mentoring. And so those are other options for you to do. So with that said, wait a minute, there's even more, all right? We also have other online sources here, and this is outside of what RealityWorks has, but we have looked at these and we see these as very good resources for you and your students to work through. So there's other resources like Character Counts, ACT for Youth, Therapist Aid, and then there's a ton of great videos on YouTube. One of them being an active listening video, which is just outstanding. So again, those are all different resources for you to be able to have. Along with that, We also have free webinars that we do live and have them recorded and saved, like this one will be as well. And so interpersonal skills fall squarely into just about every area that you might be teaching. And so you can find these and you can use these for any class at any time if that is a piece of the educational learning that your students need to have. Lastly, we always love to connect with you through our social media as well. So you can visit our blog. We have a lot of great resources in our blog. And also we're always putting out new and different types of resources on our Facebook page as well. So if you go to those, you can learn more about our products. You'll get some information about different industry happenings that will help. And then you can find all of our posts out there that may help you and be able to be useful in your classroom. So with all that said, I want to open it up for some questions. If you have any questions, love to answer that for you.
All right, Jamie. While those questions are being typed in, I do want to go over just one more time what everybody will be receiving after the webinar. Those of you who are attending, you will receive a certificate of completion for attending today's webinar. You will also be receiving a link to handouts, which include all of the links that Jamie went over, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. And you will also get a copy of this recording as well. So look for that in your email. You should see that within 24 hours after the webinar. And Jamie, I'm not seeing any questions coming through at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you. If you do have other questions, you can always check with us. Go to realityworks.com, and there is a place where you could talk to our customer service, and we'd be happy to talk and work with you on anything else that we can help within this arena. So thank you very much for your time.